Inquiry.
Hi, I'm Darlene Washington, and this is Spiritually Intriguing, the Church Edition. Here we are with Reverend Dr. Virgil Woods of Grant Memorial A.M.E. Church, and we are going to discuss an area of issues that are taking place in the secular community. But before we do that, I want to find out from Dr. Woods his pastoral journey. And first, let's introduce him. Dr. Woods.
Hi. Thank you for having me, Darlene.
My pleasure. Now tell us all about your pastoral journey. How did you get to be Reverend Dr. Virgil Woods?
Well, I was born and raised in church my whole life. I like to tell people church knew me before I knew myself.
Wow.
And I was raised in a Baptist church. Family was all Baptist. My parents were divorced. My father was non-denominational and my mother was Baptist, so I bounced between big church and little church every other weekend. And when I went off to college, I was just so happy to not have to go to church anymore. So I left and life went crazy on me. And I realized at that point, I had a wife, I had 2 kids, that God was just really calling me to come back and get right.
Awesome.
And it didn't take me but probably a couple months, and I just felt like God was calling me to be a greater leader in the church. And I felt like I was at home. I felt like there was work for me to do, and just something in my spirit said, this is where God wants you to be. So at that point, I went back and started finishing my education, and me and my wife, we packed up and made a big faith move, came out here to Evanston to work on my master's at Garrett, and then got my first church and been journeying around. I pastored in Iowa, then I pastored in Toronto, Canada for 2 years.
In Canada?
Yes, in Canada. And then after that, I came back to Rockford, pastored in Rockford for 7 years. Great ministry, great time, wonderful success. God was blessing. Grew our congregation there from about 65 to about 400.
Excellent.
And then finished my doctoral degree and my book at the same time. And so Bishop came to me and said, we really need some young people to come into the city, and there are some churches opening up, and I'd love to have you come. I'm not a city guy. I'm from Iowa, so I didn't have any aspiration to get to glamorous Chicago, as some people say, but I was obedient, and so here I am. My wife, she's a nurse out at Loyola Medical, and I have 2 kids. They're both college students. One's a senior at Iowa State University, and one's a sophomore at Iowa State University. They went back to Iowa, and I just got a grandbaby a year ago.
Oh.
So I am a young grandfather,
Like moving right along.
and my wife called herself a glamma, a glamorous grandma, glamma. So
like
all that to say, now it's just me and my wife. And so it's afforded us a little more time to focus on the ministry and put the work in and the time necessary to get our church going. So here I am. I feel great. I love my job.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
I'm sure your membership is blessed to have you.
I feel blessed to have them.
Excellent. Okay, well, let's get to some of the issues out here that we want to talk about today.
Sure.
One of the things I want to know about, there's a new TV preacher show, and it is called The Preachers of L.A.
Oh, Lord.
Oh my goodness. And I just got a chance to see it. I was visiting my mom in Minnesota, and I just got a chance to see it. And I'm not going to tell you what I thought yet. I want to know, how do you feel about this new TV reality show, The Preachers of LA? Are you offended by the show, or do you think it's wrong in some way?
No, I'm not offended by the show at all. I found it not to be as bad as some people are making it out to be. But there are a lot of asterisks that have to go with that.
Okay.
Number one, I think there's a valid concern in portraying a prosperity lifestyle in the pulpit. In some ways, the concern would be that it arms critics with critique as to the idea of whether or not a pastor should be living lavishly, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And there's room for that argument. Some say no, some say yes. So I think there is a concern there. What I do like about the show is that it brings the question to the surface. It makes all of us have to confront the question, what is too much, what is okay, and that sort of thing. Somebody said to me once, they said, well, if the professional football player can drive a Bentley, then why can't the pastor? And then the response somebody else said was, what if it's also wrong for the football player as well as the pastor? That none of us need to drive something that lasts. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of room there to have a discussion around just what's too much, etc. On the flip side, what I do like about the show is that it's giving people insight into the pastor's life. And that people, I think, can also lose sight of the fact that we are human, that we have issues, that we have marital challenges, that we have issues within our church, and we have struggles.
Right.
And so, again, giving people that insight, I think it's just helpful to see them as human. Lastly, I also think that they have raised some legitimate questions within the show. The question of transgender persons, the question of cohabitation prior to marriage, the question of coming back into the pulpit after divorce. There are a number of those questions that are subtly, and if it was just my show, I would like to see more of that. I would like to see more of those hard to discuss moral issues. Whether we like it or not, it's part of society. And so I celebrate the fact that now at least it's being put out front where we're going to have some type of discussion. It may not be the best, but at least we're talking about it. That's the question that we kind of throw out sometimes.
Right, and that's awesome.
So again, I'm not against the show because I do have, like I said, a nice car myself, but I just always have to ask myself, where's the line?
Exactly.
I mean, and I think the show raises that question.
That's a respectable opinion.
Yeah.
That's a respectable opinion. Okay, another thing we want to talk about is Obamacare. Obamacare. Okay.
The Affordable Care Act.
Exactly. So what I think is awesome is that Obama wants people in America, to have, all the people in America to have health care coverage. Who else was giving a darn prior to him? It's like, oh, you don't have health care? Okay, fine, see you. It's not my problem. So for him to take it so personal and extend his hand to all Americans to try to help us get it is awesome. I'm going to leave some room for some commentary from you, but I'll tell you what I think after. But, okay, the question is, since he has done that, with all the craziness that has come about from it, is Obamacare right for America? Is it?
Well, they say the document is over 1,000 pages, and that nobody's read it all. Is it right for America? I'd have to say yes first, just because I trust my president. So I give him the benefit of the doubt in that even if I don't understand it, I trust his integrity from what I understand of him enough to feel that he's going to make the right decision, even if I don't understand the decision, if that makes sense.
Yes, it makes sense.
On the flip side, I think that the efforts and the philosophies of it were needed. I think what America fails to realize sometimes is that lack of health care still cost us in other ways in society.
Right.
You get sick, you can't afford to go to the doctor. Now you're so sick, you can't afford to go to work.
Right.
Now you become one of the millions of homeless people.
Exactly.
Or you become a burglar.
Exactly.
Or you become something on the street. So then I pay for this in a different way in society.
It's a trickle down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, when you weigh all this out, you've got to ask yourself not just the cost of the individual, but the cost to the whole society and the community as a whole. I love the fact that we're now addressing people with pre-existing conditions. I think that was a big component of it.
It was.
And I think that's important. I have some family members who are in that boat. So seeing that they have an opportunity to get health care, of course I welcome that.
Right.
Also that the larger corporations were getting the breaks in order to offer the health insurance, where small businesses, if you're employed with a smaller business, you were less likely, not because the business maybe was unwilling, but because they couldn't afford to get the health care for you at the rate that a larger corporation could get, because they had, of course, more employees, etc. So they're trying to address that imbalance as well, so that small businesses can afford to offer health care, etc. So, for me, at the end of the day, I think it's a great program. I just think it's going to take time to kind of let all the foam settle and kind of see where the water lays. I'm sure it'll need adjustments, like anything. I'm sure it'll need changes, like anything. I think what's more troubling for me is just, there's a difference between being right and doing right. And I think that when it really hit the political fan, it became a matter of being right and not a matter of doing right. So people were so concerned about winning. We got to win. We're for it, we're against it. Who's going to win? But nobody really went to, okay, but what's right? And sometimes doing right means not winning. Sometimes it means conceding that this is something that needs to be done. And I might not win per se, but we all win in essence because we agree that this is something that needs to be done.
Right.
So that's been much more problematic for me. Secondly, that even though it was they fought the Affordable Health Care Act, there were not a lot of alternatives thrown on the table.
Right.
So, and that's the other problem for me. You know, you keep telling me what you don't want. You know, don't tell me what you don't want. Tell me what you do want.
Right.
If you're going to keep knocking this down, what can we? You know, so I like it. I mean, I think everybody needs health care. It's interesting that you asked me because I did live in Canada for 2 years, so I'm familiar with their socialized health care. I was part of that. I went to the doctor under that and did all that. I will say that. And we can argue about the quality of the service and all that later. There is a sense of comfort knowing that you have health care, even if you can't afford the health care that you have it. You know, and I think that the people in socialized health care would tell you that that's the comfort they enjoy. And even, and I'm going to press my luck here, even if the service was a little bit, just the notion that everybody has it takes away that elitist notion of, yeah, we got top quality service, but only a percentage of us get it. I mean, you know, I would rather get B+ service that everybody can get than A service that only a few people can get. And I'm not saying that Canada is B+, and you know, I'm not going into that. But I'm just saying that just the fact that it's available to everybody, I think, is a wonderful thing. Lastly, is all the critique of the websites. I mean, I just think that's so silly as well.
Oh,
I mean,
it is.
You know, what Windows are we on? Windows 8? I mean, you know, like really, I mean, if Microsoft hasn't got it right, Apple hasn't got it right, and nobody else, we're all updating our phones. I mean, how many phone updates do I get a month? I mean, everything needs updating nowadays. So why is it all of a sudden that because this website, you know, was inundated with an unexpected amount of traffic, which happens, why is that all of a sudden, oh my gosh, it's just so terrible? Why can't that just be, hey, this is part of the process, we've seen this in other areas of life, you know, keep it going type of thing.
It's just extracurricular activities that shouldn't be taken into consideration. But the main thing that I wanted to say about Obamacare is basically pretty much what you said. I mean, I saw all the complaints about the websites. I'm like, really? You know, how many times when you announce on radio to go visit somebody's site and all these people go hit it and bam, it shuts down. It was something that maybe could have been anticipated, but not necessarily. And then how do you fix that when it happens? You just fix it. You know, problems occur. The other thing was I totally expected there to be some glitches. Now, it seems to me that all the criticism has come from people who didn't want it to happen in the first place. And so they're just nitpicking every little thing that they can find wrong with it, you know, instead of trying to find the good in it. And I was a little concerned about people losing their health care coverage, but that's something that's being addressed as well. So, you know, it is what it is. You know, it's okay for someone to be in high society or to be working class and have some medical insurance. But what of those others, as you said before, who do not have it, who just need to go to the doctor to prevent preventative health care problems that will turn into deathly issues if not fixed. I mean, it's just little things. So it's like, give it up. You know, Obamacare, I'd say it is right for America. I think it's something that should have been done, and I'm glad that it has been done. So thank you. And that's going to wrap it up for this issue of Spiritually Intriguing, the Church Edition. And thanks for watching.